Hey everyone, welcome back to the NPTE podcast. This is Will Crane, your host. Thank you so much for joining me as we go through the content you need in order to dominate on test day. So today we're recording this and posting it just as we're getting ready for the July 2023 administration. There are a few key tips I'd like to add to my list. I've been doing the last couple of episodes about key test taking tips. I did want to add just a few things that I think would be helpful for you as you headed into the test center for test day in July. So obviously these principles will be equally applicable down the road again. So if you are testing in the far or near future, this should all be equally applicable to you. But before we get to that, just a quick reminder to check out ptfinalexam.com. We'll be starting up our VIP program coming up in August. So we always start this about 10 weeks before every test day. So the October administration will be no different. The VIP program, it's an ever improving, I'll say, very robust test prep program. The goal with the VIP program is to provide to you all of the essential content you need to dominate on test day. So clearly, one of the items that is most important about this is having the content. And so we spend tons of time going through content related to the NPTE, but we're also ever updating our test or our exam simulator. We've got our written material, including a workbook to be very active and engaged. We have our private Telegram group where you're able to interact with all the other students in this small group setting, get your questions answered. Plus, my favorite thing is the one-on-one calls that I get with students. It's an opportunity to go through questions you may have, content. Essentially, these are like small tutoring sessions to go through what you need for test day. So be sure to check out the VIP program. It's a great way to study for the test to give you the tools you need to succeed. So just a quick note about a couple of things on test day. I've talked about some of these things, but I did want to add a few. So one of the biggest things is that I mentioned this in a previous episode, and I stand corrected. As of May 2023, so in very recent, just a few weeks ago, the Prometric Test Center came up with a new policy regarding water bottles. So you are permitted now, and this is cool. They did not permit this even up until just a few weeks ago. You are permitted to, as of the July 2023 administration, you are permitted to take in a clear plastic water bottle into your test desk, into the desk inside the Prometric Center. So what this looks like, and again, there's not a ton of publicly available information on their website about this yet, other than just a news release. Plus, I just before this podcast episode, I called and double checked at a couple of the local Prometric test centers. And indeed, this is the case that as of May of 2023, for the summer of 2023, you are permitted now to take in a clear plastic water bottle. It has to have a few characteristics. Number one, it has to be clear. It has to be totally clear. So typically, this would be like a disposable water bottle, just your classic like Costco brand water bottle where it's simply just a clear, obviously very clear. However, you would be permitted if you had, say, like an Nalgene type bottle or some type of reusable yet clear plastic water bottle. This would be permitted. However, the second item here is that it can have no label or stickers of any kind. So it has zero text on it. So you can see how this would go if you had a text, like a sticker with some acronyms or mnemonic devices on it. They would not permit that. So it can't have any labels, stickers, or marketing material of any kind, meaning that it had essentially no writing. So again, think of the Costco plastic water bottle where you just peel the label off and then you've got the clear plastic bottle. And then the number two, what did I say? So number one, contains only water. Number two, it has to be sticker and label and text free. And then finally, the last one is, as implied in the description here, it has to be clear, absolutely visible through and through. And if it meets those characteristics where it's clear, no stickers, and contains only water, they will permit it to go with you into the test center, into your actual desk. Now, my word of caution here is you need to stay appropriately hydrated, but avoid overhydration so that you don't have to have the micturition reflex kick in during the test. But it is pretty cool that they do now permit water, which there is clearly a correlation between mental acuity and hydration status. So that is awesome. That like I say, this is pretty big news, especially considering that all of us have been accustomed for a long time to have adequate hydration during PT school. You have that plastic water bottle ready to go. Anyway, that's a great update. So just a couple other things to add to that as you head into the test center. Consider what your posture is like during the test. So as you're going through the tests, just make sure that you, as you're as you're sitting there taking your test questions, try to sit upright, be engaged with the questions. You'll find that this leads to better performance because you are more upright and engaged with the content. Other things to consider would be to eliminate answer options as best you can. So you try to narrow your focus. In the test center and in the Prometric software, you are permitted to highlight text. You can also strike through items if you choose to eliminate them. Now, it doesn't have any bearing on your score, but if you want to eliminate an item in your mind, you'd go and you'd strike through it, and then you could look and focus at on the other options as well. So keep track of time. Make sure you're not using too much time as you go through the content. You'll want to stay on the pace of about 1 section per hour for the total of 5 sections for the PT exam. And then the last little note here is just to proceed logically through the questions. Now, the logical sequence of most questions should look something like this. You read the question, read the stem of the question, which is the best or worst or least. Once you've identified that, in your mind, you should be able to formulate an answer in your mind of what the characteristics of the question or the correct answer would be, and then sequentially go through each of the answer options, either ruling them in or ruling them out based on what your first inclination is about that question. Now, that being said, there is one time when I would say do it backwards, where you read the answer options first before really evaluating the question, and that's in image or video questions, meaning that when you are looking at a video or an image, you'll want to narrow your focus. So that's why you need to look at the answer options first. So then you can go back to the video or the image and say to yourself, all right, I know it's one of these 4 things. Now I've got to look for those in the video or the image. So it'll be very nice with video questions or image questions to narrow your focus, to be able to see what precisely it is that you're looking at. But generally speaking, I do recommend having a very sequential, logical way through each question, just because on test day, you get kind of your fight or flight brain kicks in where it's difficult to stay focused. And so the more routine you can be in your question answering, it'll make it a lot more pleasant of an experience. So, all right, well, with that, kind of a quick review of what you'll need on test day. But just be sure to check out, just a reminder, check out ptfinalexam.com. If you haven't yet, it only takes a moment. Scroll down where you got this podcast and just give us a quick 5-star review. It helps so much as we're trying to spread the word and help people get ready for their test. And keep a grin on your chin as you're going through the test. One of the little tips that I give students is as you enter the test center, try to have a smile or at least a pleasant look on your face when they take your picture, because you've got to look at yourself in that picture a few times as you check in and check out. Try to look pleasant. At least try to look like you own the place. You know, you sit upright, have at least a twinkle in your eye as you're sitting there. I know I had one student say, I tried to smile, but the test center staff said, no smiling. So you may just have to have a twinkle in your eye as you sit there. But there is a difference between someone who is in charge of the situation versus someone who is sitting back and waiting for the freight train to hit them. You be the first kind. Be someone who sits there, twinkling your eye, ready to go, power pose as you dive into the test. So with that, we'll bring it to a conclusion. Thank you so much for all you do. Be sure to check out all the other episodes we have over here on the NPTE podcast, and I'll catch you all in the next session. Thanks.